We're doing a Black Friday sale for the crypto alert system at traderpro.com. 40% off for 2 months of the premium alerts. Use the discount code BLK40-crypto. And certainly in this market environment, we want to be focusing on the oversold alerts, as the overbought indicators mean much less in this bullish of an environment. And we consistently see bounces on lots of time frames, 15-minute, hourly. Can't wait for the 4-hour oversold bounce whenever we get that next. But watching the oversold indicators much more closely than the overbought indicators as long as we are this bullish. Thanks for your attention. Let's get to the charts. Hey everybody, checking back in on the cryptocurrency space and looking back on the live stream that we did to end last week. Back on Friday, look at the number of views, 9.5K views, and compared to any of the previous videos, that is 200 to 300% higher. And that just shows you the environment of fear. And that's why so many people have sensationalized thumbnails and headlines that talk about fear. And we play with it sometimes, but every time I post something that is about a big market pullback and establishing a plan, it's so very clear that that is what gets clicked and that is what stands out for people. So it's just highlighting how strong an emotion fear is. And that's, everybody's complacent when we're on our way up. And then once we start pulling back, everybody wants to know, is this the top? Are we going to pull back significantly? Are there red flags? Is this an opportunity? And that just really kicks in the brain, and all of those questions start swirling. And that's why people go to YouTube and start seeking answers for all those questions. So I always love observing that aspect of things. And it's certainly coming into play with the most recent cryptocurrency pullback. So we have a nice smooth transition as far as everything that we covered in that live stream on Friday and where we stand right now, because it's playing out as anticipated. We weren't confident that our low had been set at that point. We were watching the shorter term time frames. We needed an hourly trend change. We needed a 4-hour trend change. We finally got that 4-hour trend change yesterday favoring the bulls. So now we're watching for daily lower highs to be the most likely scenario. Is it possible that we just go straight to a higher high? Yes, that is a possibility, but we would have to see increasing bull volume and likely have to see it more than the 20-day average increasing on the way up if that were going to be a possibility. So we can say in the absence of unusual bull volume, we're scouting a daily lower high. Anything under 19,500 will be that lower high. And the most important range that we have right now in the short term is not that. The most important range that we have in the short term is the high of 19,500 and the low of 16,200. And here we stand, fairly close to the middle of that range. The bounce has seen about a 60% plus retracement, which shows strength. That's a great sign. If we had only bounced, 35%, we'd be cautious of a daily bear flag. But we did get enough follow through where we have created the space now where when the 4-hour uptrend is lost, and our last higher low is 17,500. But when we lose the 4-hour uptrend, we know our daily lower high has likely been set, and we then scout for a daily higher low compared to 16,200. And that's just a fractal on all the time frames where we have seen that play out. We started with an hourly double bottom, and an hourly trend change eventually took place, and then we zoomed out, and the 4-hour time frame set a higher low, and that trend change took place, and now we're watching the daily to see if we set the lower high, can we form a higher low and keep the higher lows coming from that point forward. There are times in the market where we get a big fast push down, and we've been watching this on the shorter term time frames on the way up. We're on the 5 or 15 minute time frame where you would see a resistance break and then you would flush down and see a support level established and then a pretty notable bounce. And that low of that flush was key to hold for the bulls to ensure that they kept control longer term. And we have the same scenario right now. Instead of the 5 and 15 minute time frame, it's happening on the daily. So there was an initial flush, stop losses were triggered, bears had their win that they had not seen in a very long time, and essentially the analogy that I use is the bulls got sucker punched. The bears came out of nowhere, they ran over the bulls with a lot of momentum that took them by surprise. Now the bulls are ready for it, and the question is, can they hold that low? And if the answer is yes, then we're definitely going to all-time highs. If that low breaks, we know further weekly consolidation is coming. So the 3 scenarios we're watching: V-shape to a higher high, not the most likely scenario; daily lower high and tightening range, which is what I feel is the most likely scenario; And the third possibility would be a daily lower high and lower low, which would confirm a daily downtrend and confirm more significant weekly consolidation is going to take place. At this point in time, we have a pattern right now where every single week is a higher low, and that has been happening for the last 9 weeks. And that pattern is still intact because the low of this week held the low of last week. So we're not seeing weekly consolidation at this point unless we break 16,200. And in my opinion, if that were going to happen, we would have to see increasing bear volume as well. So without seeing increasing bull volume or increasing bear volume, the daily equilibrium is then the most likely scenario. Has our top been set yet? Nope, we certainly can't say that. And again, we could pull back and form another 4-hour higher low compared to 17,500 the next time we consolidate. So at this point, the game plan for entries was either an entry for the hourly higher low off that double bottom. If you wanted to be more patient, it was an entry off the 4-hour higher low where support held by $200. And if you're being extremely patient, it's an entry looking for a daily higher low. And all of them were using 16,200 as support. So I made an initial entry in both BTC and ETH, scaling back into what I stopped out of on that drop, and entered a small amount to that position, about 20-25%. And I will add more to both on a daily higher low. And the addition of what I add on that daily higher low will be using this low as a stop. Because again, for adding there, my thesis would be the bulls are going to maintain a daily higher low and look to test that all-time high in the short term. And if we were to break that low, then my thesis would be incorrect. We would confirm a daily downtrend, and I would then want to at least take part of that position back to cash so I could then enter on weekly consolidation to reload a bit. So that's what I'm doing personally, and I'm definitely taking the conservative route. Aggressive traders were absolutely, all in on this higher low in the mid to low 1600s, playing off of 16,200 support, and at this point it has certainly paid off. Let's talk about the other side of the coin. There are bears that are looking for an entry here. And again, I gave an example in the live stream where if you're a bull and have a fully loaded position and you didn't sell anything on this drop, some bulls are going to look at this opportunity and say, okay, well, that pulled back a little bit harder and faster than I would have liked, and I'm going to make a little bit of a bearish entry to top fish the recent high and to hedge my holdings a bit. So that's something to be watching for as well as we scout a daily lower high over the next 12 hours or so. And if the bulls are keeping their control into tomorrow morning, when the stock market bell rings, that will be impressive yet again. Size of the bounce has been impressive, and if we have not topped out by then, that would be impressive to me as well. That's 21 hours from now or so, 20 hours. Dominance chart, tightening up on the daily. Low of the pullback, high of the bounce. We need to be watching for that daily lower high, and it has been set. And now it's up to the bulls to form a higher low compared to 60.80, and they're hoping to do that at 62.15. Currently an inside bar forming. If the inside bar were to break bullish, then 64.41 is there, and the bulls would try and regain the daily uptrend. But for now, tightening up, and we could easily stay within this tightening daily range for another 3 to 5 days or so. ETH USD, same thing as Bitcoin, but the bounce percentage-wise, not quite as significant, just one step behind it. In terms of that, please silence all your cell phones. So we are slightly behind Bitcoin in terms of the percentage retracement, but it is notable. Just getting back to the 50% is the goal to set up that equilibrium. So anything under 623 is just a lower high, and that's over 10% from where we currently stand. And again, as we went over in the live stream, we are scouting an equilibrium. We're scouting a loss of the 4-hour uptrend to eventually mark this daily lower high, and then there's plenty of space to scout that daily higher low compared to 480. The 4-hour uptrend, the last higher low here, is 531, keeping the bulls in control of this bounce as long as that 4-hour uptrend is intact. ETH BTC, daily higher low trying to be established, but tons of space where we will just look for a daily lower high to form here as well. And when you see this much space after a big bull move up and a big pullback, the most likely scenario is always the equilibrium, and the volume helps us determine whether the less likely scenario is taking place. And right now, volume is showing us that's not the case. So just need a little bit more bull follow through, and then we scout the lower high and tightening range here as well. LTC USD, everything right now that I'm seeing on these charts is shaping up for a lower volatility week coming up. If we do set these lower highs and continue to tighten up, we're going to be looking into the end of next week for these tightening daily ranges to be approaching a break. So Litecoin playing a little bit of a laggard catch-up move right now. This hourly bull break that just took place on this volume is catching up. I did a morning check-in, and it was Bitcoin 60+% retracement. And the retracement, again, to find that, you're just pulling up your Fib tool, your Fibonacci, it's up here. And you're looking at the high and the low, and you're saying, how high has the bounce taken place at this point? This morning, it was 60% plus Bitcoin, 55% retracement on ETH, and 45% on Litecoin. This leg up that Litecoin just saw in the hourly time frame is now bringing it in line with ETH, and both are just behind BTC. But again, same thing. We're looking for the daily lower high compared to 94.05, and that resistance level is almost 20% away. 4-hour uptrend is our guide. Last higher low is 71.64. And the 4-hour uptrend is what we're watching over the next 12 to 24 hours for a daily lower high to most likely be set. LTC, BTC, we were watching this weekly falling wedge, and we broke very significantly bullish above that downtrend line. But look at where this week is closing. We are technically still within this falling wedge. And if we have to pull back further, the most important level is that low of 36.26. So it's not the kind of move right now in this weekly time frame where we're looking for long-term significant catch-up, so to speak, of Litecoin in comparison to Bitcoin. A lot more work is needed. It was just really the first daily trend change and bounce follow-through that we've seen in quite some time. So a lot of work still to go there. And on this daily chart for LTC, BTC, we are scouting a daily lower high on this bounce due to the size of the pullback. XRP USD still keeping a lot of attention. Perfect backtest and hold of the daily 12-period EMA. And I love when my oversold signals align with EMA support on longer-term timeframes. And in this instance, it was XRP, 4-hour RSI. Didn't quite get oversold, but the hourly RSI certainly did. And it was first hourly oversold conditions from that all-time high. And that pretty much marked that daily higher low being set. We did drop just barely to a lower low after the first oversold RSI, but that was the daily higher low. Scouting the lower high, same as all our other coins, keeping in mind that this upper wick on Coinbase is not present on other exchanges. We topped out in the mid-70s on other exchanges, and if that were the case here, the upper wick would be more in line with right about there. So we're watching the 4-hour uptrend. The daily 12-period EMA is nice support. The 4-hour time frame, higher low of 583 is trying to hold here. If 583 breaks, we confirm a 4-hour downtrend, and that increases the odds significantly that our daily lower high is set. From there, we look for the daily higher low compared to 4555, and the daily EMA 12 continues to act as a guide. Oftentimes, I'll see a tightening daily range, and the daily EMA 12 support almost keeps things stronger in that equilibrium forming. And I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head right now. I think QQQ might have done it. So here's QQQ, high, low, lower high, and that higher low formed very quickly, favoring the bulls, and that daily EMA 12 support helped keep that consolidation brief. And that's what the XRP bulls are hoping will happen if we do pull back to look for that daily higher low. XRP BTC is still directly correlated to the US dollar pairing. Same thing. High, low, scouting that lower high, and it's potentially being set here. And 4-hour time frame, not exactly clear as far as the loss of the uptrend. You could say that this is all the same period of consolidation to look for a higher low compared to 3184. But we are going to look for a 4-hour lower high next time we bounce, and we're keeping an eye out for that daily lower high to form. Same thing, daily EMA 12 support is catching up, and we will then look for the higher low compared to 28, where our last daily higher low was set. XLM USD is very similar to XRP. It's got an equilibrium forming due to the size of its range. Breakout high, big pullback low, lower high was set, and now we're looking for that higher low compared to 14.5. And if I am a swing trader looking for entries, I'm scaling in on these higher lows. 14.5 is the most important support level. I'm anticipating it's going to hold at least initially. 4-hour time frame. And actually the 12-hour chart's a good one here as well if you want a bit more detail. 12-hour EMA support is approaching. So if I'm being an aggressive bull, I'm looking for that level to hold as a higher low. And for this, I would watch the 12-hour equilibrium rather than the daily. I like the viewpoint here better. And it's likely going to break sometime. Depends on when we form this higher low. If we form that higher low and hold the EMA 12 support, we know that this equilibrium is going to break sooner than if we lose that EMA 12 support, but still keep forming that equilibrium with essentially more range within it. YFI USDT. So we're looking for the same thing in the sense that big move up, significant pullback from that move up, and I'm viewing anything under 29.89, let's just call it 30. Anything under 30,000 is a daily lower high. Losing the 4-hour uptrend indicates that that daily lower high has been set, and there is space to then look for the higher low compared to 18,200. 4-hour uptrend still intact. These little higher lows barely holding on, but they are holding on. And 22.8 is our last one that has formed. Link USD, daily chart. So again, let's compare. We can compare all these coins. What is the size of the retracement? How confident is this bounce? And I can see at this point, we bounced about 40%. So out of ETH, BTC, LTC, Link USD has the weakest bounce of those names. And why is that not surprising to us? We're definitely looking for that daily lower high here as well. It's not surprising because the Link BTC chart has done nothing sustainable for the bulls. It has continually shown us weakness comparative to Bitcoin for months at this point. And we just saw a break of resistance straight into a big pullback and then into a break of support and the lowest price that we've seen in multiple months. So as long as this Bitcoin pairing chart stays weak, LTC USD, or I should say Link USD, is going to stay weaker than Bitcoin. And that's why these BTC pairing charts are so important for us, because if I just look at this move up, take away the pullback, it looks just fine from the bulls. And I can't gauge easily and quickly whether this is stronger than Bitcoin or ETH or all these other altcoins. And when I look at that Link BTC chart, I instantly know the opportunity cost of keeping money in Link comparative to Bitcoin has been bad over the last couple months. Money has been better spent in Bitcoin as long as this chart remains weak. So we'll keep a close eye on it. Let's see what the bigger picture here is. We are looking for a monthly high or low. It's worth paying attention to. For that monthly EMA 12 and that monthly high or low, we're just not getting any follow through at this point. And now with that bear break and no follow through, that instantly tells me to scout a falling wedge. And this is live in the moment analysis, just seeing some things that are standing out. I don't like this line. I would have said that we had already broken it. It's actually a breakout of this downtrend resistance line and a back test and hold. And now using the shorter term levels here. So we're still within this range. I like this range in the short term to be watching. Bottom line is that bear break with a lack of follow through and scouting for this monthly high or low tells me not to fall asleep on Link. It doesn't tell me anything is coming in the short term, but I know bigger picture to absolutely be looking for a monthly high or low here and keeping an eye on that shift for when it takes place and gets followed through. And that was the same thing for LTC. You know, back before Litecoin got its big leg up in its laggard move, we were watching that LTC BTC long-term falling wedge and saying just keep an eye on this. So now we're doing the same thing for Link. And I have more interest in Link after the last 5 minutes of talking than I have had in the last couple weeks. Again, nothing to act on, just not wanting to fall asleep on it and knowing to check in on it at least once a day from here on out. Have a good rest of your day. Do good things. We'll end it here with chapter number 4 of an 11-year-ago road trip to Yellowstone.
Us as friendlies if we graze with him. Stay down, Casey. He's looking at you. He's checking out. Keep being. pummels Casey over? What if he comes over and just starts eating next to him, dude?
He launches Casey over.
I'm hoping that he's gonna come over and just put his head next to Casey and start eating next to him. This is Hell's Roaring Creek at its finest. Roaring through here. Dude, it looks like over this edge. Woo! We can ford it on that there. Log going across.
So much food.
Chilling right now
Oh, man.
around the campfire, day
I don't
4.
think-
Schwilling on the Yellowstone Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey.
Double cheese, double cheese.
Double
The camera doesn't know how hungry we are. We haven't expressed to the camera.
No.
We are starving.
Yeah, we've only had nothing to eat. We've actually
Two and
tell
a
'em-
half. We get every day. We get 2.5 Nutrigrain. We get 1 ramen at night, and we get like 2 handfuls of trail mix. And there's a couple treats here
Maybe a
and there.
beef jerky.
We
Maybe
got a little beef
maybe a
jerky,
nibble of beef jerky.
a thing of popcorn, a thing of beans. We get a couple special treats, but we are
And that's with hiking up and downhill.
We are- we're doing work.
about 6 miles a day.
every day we do work up and down hills, carrying a 70-pound pack, and we don't eat shit.
We came a bit unprepared. We're a bit
We're unprepared.
We were a bit
We
unprepared.
don't eat shit.
Safe to say we were a bit unprepared. Casey, what do you?
I'm hungry. Please help me. I'm so hungry.